As of the recording of this episode, California has been ravaged this week by wildfires. We encourage all of our listeners out there to go to thegreatergood.org to donate to the Disaster Relief Fund and help those out there who have lost their homes and their valuables to these ongoing wildfires in California. Thank you.
Films and fermentation, movies and inebriation. Films and fermentation, comedy mixed with tasty libation. Films and fermentation, with Leo Kevman and Mike.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Films and Fermentation. This is our season 10 premiere. That's right, 10 seasons of your favorite Films and Fermentation podcast. I don't know where to go from here because my computer just died and my whole script was right there in front of me when it did.
Years!
10
years!
This is episode...
Culture.
Yeah, this is the number. This is yeah. Welcome to Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast, the number one pop culture podcast on Good Pods. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
Luckily, I have the script on my other laptop as well, so I can just switch onto that one while I try to figure out what happened to the other laptop I was working with. We are three friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit faced. This is not just our season 10 premiere; it's episode 178, and it's our first brand new episode on the Podnation TV Network on Roku. We are now part of the Podnation TV Network. So they get us, the number one pop culture podcast on Good Pods, on Roku as well. This is like our
Roku. I mean, that's, the ads pop up when on Instagram and stuff about all these things you can get for cheap. Wait. No, never mind.
That's Temu.
It's Temu. My bad.
I was just about to say, I told Mike I got a Roku box just so I can watch our podcast on it. This is also our 2024 year in review episode. In this episode, we're wrapping up 2024 with more drama than a 3-hour Oscar contender. This year brought us blockbusters, flops, surprise hits, and a few what were they thinking moments. Looking at you, Sony Spiderman Villain universe without Spider-Man. We'll break down the best movies, some binge-worthy shows, and the award season buzz, all while paying tribute to the legends we lost in our Memoriam section. It's like a New Year's Eve party for pop culture, but with more sarcasm and a few questionable resolutions. So grab a drink and join us for one last toast to the roller coaster that was the year 2024.
May all acquaintance be forgot.
Don't know what's going on. Yay! Got my laptop open again. Yay! Now I can record and read at the same time. Go ahead, Mike. What are you saying?
Say, before that song starts playing, I'm already asleep by then. Come on.
I know. I was with Mike on New Year's. I could attest to that.
We were spooning. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was the big spoon.
I think that's pretty obvious. It was Mike. He fits in my back pocket like a little comb. Don't forget to drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. Become part of the Films and Fermentation family by supporting us on Patreon or buying our merchandise at teespring.com. And as I already said, we are now part of the, let me change that from not to now. We are now part.
I was looking, I go, what?
We are now part of the Podnation TV network on Roku. Remember, we are an independent podcast, which means we are listener supported. So please consider joining our Patreon for as little as $1 a month to receive members only content like pictures of me and Mike spooning. Go to patreon.com/films and fermentation or buy our merchandise, as I said, at teespring.com. You can also text us at You can also text us at 904-867-4466. That is our official text line. If you'd like to send us any comments, questions, suggestions, or whatever you'd like to say to us, 904-867-4466. I have a couple shout outs for tonight. First off, I'd like to shout out the Bad Movies Rule podcast for giving us a shout out on their show. So we're, it's dueling shout outs basically. So if you haven't listened to the Bad Movies Rule podcast, I suggest it. It's a really good podcast. I also like to send a shout out to the Florida Men on Florida Man podcast, who left us a 5-star review on Apple Pods. It says, feels like you're in the room. Recently discovered this show, and honestly, they do such a great job of making you feel like you're part of the conversation. I can't recommend this show enough. So thank you guys.
Thank you,
appreciate
that.
Yes, and we'd like to give a shout out to Emmy-nominated director Richard Basley, who started following us on TikTok recently. Before becoming a director, he was also an animator for Disney, working on films like Pocahontas, Hercules, and Tarzan. This is pretty exciting for us to have a director of some renown following us right now.
That's pretty cool. The only one I knew who did that before was Tim Allen or Tim Burton, whoever you want.
Tim Burton.
Yeah, Tim Burton, I think, did work on Mulan and a couple others before he started getting into directing.
It's that learning tree,
I don't know. He did some animating.
What are we drinking tonight, gentlemen?
Oh,
Who would like to go
guys,
first?
it's Dry January, didn't we all agree to do Dry January?
I never heard of Dry January. What is that about?
No.
No.
Wait a minute. Oh, hell no!
I've heard of No Drink November, but
Well, okay, and then I'll start. Then I am drinking.
I don't understand foreign religions.
The Einstock Winter Ale, 8% alcohol by volume. Brave the elements. Brave the elements of shorter days and dark, cold nights. Bundled up in front of the roasting fire, drinking our limited edition winter ale, brewed with spruce tips and smoked barley, and providing a hearty body. It's a perfect brew to complement your sagas of conquest and survival.
Nice.
It's not bad.
What are you drinking? Iced tea, since you're doing no January?
Water.
Water? Are you actually partaking in this thing? Get the fuck out of here.
I'm going to start off with the Duke Law, the Patriarchy, Candy Cane Imperial Stout.
I would like to put emphasis on the word start out with.
7.5% alcohol by volume, based out of New Jersey.
Yeah, that's true. I've heard of that place.
Yes. And
it's easy for Kev to drink more than one because he can walk to work.
Yeah.
Has to drive like an hour and get up at dark early in the morning.
Still doesn't stop me from drinking the night before.
The Patriarchy is a beautifully dark imperial stout with a tan head that's as tasty as it is inviting. Come on in from the cold and slide into the holidays with cool notes of peppermint, roasty malts, and deep chocolate. So I'm going to start with that. And then I'm going to continue with the Blue Hen Hero Boy, which is a Belgian-style strong ale with cherry and spice, and 9% alcohol by volume. So cheers.
I had one of the ones you gave me the other night, because you gave me those as well.
Yes.
It was I don't remember the name of it. It was like something New York or something like that.
Yes, Silent Night in
Silent Night, New York. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was okay. It was a little bitter, okay. But it was okay.
I'll tell you, I had the Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and I was it was underwhelming. Mm-hmm. And then I had the Silent Night, and it was a little bit better, but again, not. I was hoping for more flavor. So let's see how this is.
So I thought, let me figure out a way to kind of theme this a little bit tonight. So we're doing the year 2024 in review. So I went on the Untapped app and I looked up to see what was my highest rated beer of 2024 of all the ones that I drank. So my highest rated beer was the Rolling Thunder Oktoberfest from Warhorse Brewery in New York, which doesn't surprise me because I love Warhorse and I like Oktoberfest. So I was like, oh, I'll drink that tonight then as like a tribute to that. But I'm unfortunately all out of them and I haven't been up to New York in a while. So I said, well, I'll do the next best thing. I have a plethora of Sam Adams Oktoberfest in my fridge right now, thanks to my birthday gift from Kevin. So I'm drinking a Sam Adams Oktoberfest out of the beer cup thing that Mike got me that keeps your beer cold. And it works, man. This beer is nice and cold.
Oh, wait. Can that work with bottles too?
Yes. The bottle fits. The bottle fits right into the lid, and then if you're using like a larger can, you can unscrew the lid and put the can in.
Yeah,
and that's because I used it the other night for that Silent Night.
I thought I had to use the small cans. It was only for the small cans because it had that top to it. I was like,
the bottle squeezes in. Just squeezes right in, and then if you're using the larger can, you can unscrew the top, put the can in.
How about that? Oh, yeah. I'm sorry I don't have mine on me. My cans were a little large. I didn't think it worked.
No, it works. Trust me, I've done it. So that takes us to our first main segment of the evening.
This week in film history with Mike. This week in film history with Mike.
I still can't get enough of that.
This week in film history with Mike.
Good Mike.
1952, The Greatest Show on Earth, directed and produced by Cecil B. DeMille, starring James Stewart and Charlton Heston, premieres in New York. Best Picture, 1953.
That's right. I think, is this the one? No, I was going to say, I think this might be the one that beat out Quiet Man for Best Picture, but I think that was the year before that because the one that beat that out was How Green Was My Valley.
Yes.
I have not seen The Greatest Show on Earth. I watched 10 Commandments by Cecil B. DeMille, and I felt like that was enough movie. I have not seen this one.
Get your dirty dog boy paws off me.
What's the next one you got there, sir?
In 1973, Schoolhouse Rock premieres on ABC TV with Multiplication Rock.
All right. What's the best Schoolhouse Rock song? Is
I'm
it
Just a Bill?
I'm Just a Bill?
I'm Just a Bill.
Or Conjunction Junction?
Ooh, that's catchy, but I'm Just a Bill because it lets me know how our government should be working.
And as always, there's a Family Guy skit that goes with it, where you see the Bill sitting on the steps singing, and one of the janitors comes up with one of those spiky things and stabs the Bill and puts it in the trash can. And it's like,
That's so funny, I don't know. I like Ali, 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 get your albums here.
I know there's one for interjections that I used to play for my kids all the time too. That was pretty fun. There's a whole shitload of them. I had the VHS. That's how long I've been teaching that. I used to use the VHS in class for it.
I like the one that explains what a felony is. Between felonies and misdemeanors.
Oh, the one that always got
murder is a felony.
Was the one
you can take your thing out and whack it around, and that's just a misdemeanor. But when you do things to other people with it, that's a felony.
Remember, showing them is a misdemeanor. Sticking in them is a felony.
We have gone right off the rails already.
Again, I'm glad I did that donation thing before the show.
The one I always thought was funny was I don't remember if it was the Constitution or the Bill of Rights, and it's like, and the pursuit of happiness is the guys chasing the girl across the screen. Like, this is a kids show.
I know. Well,
it's Saturday morning cartoons.
70s and 80s, man, was a different time.
It was.
What's your next one you got there, sir?
In 2011, The King's Speech, starring Colin Firth, Jeffrey Rush, and Helena Bonham Carter, is released in UK.
It's a great movie.
And I really like The King's Speech.
I mean, I know it's one of those things. If it's on, I'm gonna try to catch it.
like there's certain parts of it that are really good. There's a couple parts that like kind of drag. I like the cinematography in it. I think it's very interesting how it's filmed, where it's almost like sort of like a fisheye lens. Different times. It also though that year that it won Best Picture is a very weird year. 2011, I think it was one of the earliest years that they did the 10 picture Best Picture category. And that year it was The King's Speech, Black Swan, The Fighter, Inception, The Kids Are All Right, 127 Hours, The Social Network, Toy Story 3, True Grit, and Winter's Bone. Those were the nominees that year. It was a very stacked year.
That was, I mean,
when it won Best Picture, I was happy with it, but I kind of feel like looking back on it, you can almost argue. Well, I mean, I can kind of argue, like, I think The Social Network was probably the Best Picture that year.
Yeah.
Or Inception, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, but I still like The King's Speech. I just don't know if it was actually the Best Picture that year.
It was royalty, so it won.
Well, it's the Oscars loves like an epic, and it's an
epic,
you know,
they go more for historical dramas than they would for anything. Science fiction. They're just warming up to science fiction.
It's a historical epic about a real king with a speech impediment. It had Oscars bingo.
Yeah.
See, you're good if you go part retard, but if you go full retard,
no, go full retard. What's the next one you got there, sir?
In 2016, Star Wars: The Force Awakens breaks North America's box office record, passing the 760.5 million taken by Avatar.
Yes, and nobody complained about The Force Awakens, and they were very happy with the 2 sequels that followed.
Hey, there wasn't a lot that happened this week, so I was
going to say it's a very short list this week.
I was thinking for shit. Hey, I put something from TV on here.
Yeah. So speaking of that, though, do you have any must-try beer craft destination for this evening, sir?
I have a must-try beer.
Mm-hmm.
It is Maximator from Augustiner Brau, Munich, Germany. The Doppelbock is by definition a stark beer or strong beer in Germany, where they have festivals to celebrate these heady brews. Augustiner makes one of the finer Munich-based examples through Polyanners. Salvatore is perhaps the best known, but Maximator is a shade darker than that, with a reddish chestnut hue, and the aromatics are a tad sweeter with a marshmallow vanilla note joining the rich simmer malt. Flavors include prunes and brownies with a hint of maple syrup and pumpkin pie. In short,
wait, did you say prunes and brownies?
I did. That's what I started laughing at.
It's like raisins and oatmeal cookies, prunes and brownies, you know?
Prunes and brownies and notes of caramel, you said? Or something?
Maple.
With a hint of maple syrup and pumpkin pie. In short, a strong dessert beer that glides over the palate smoothly and luxuriously. A beer for holidays and celebrations. Hey, it's a German beer. It's got to be good.
Yeah, but
it's the fruitcake of beer in Germany.
I know. Prunes and brownies and maple syrup and pumpkin pie.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Kevman beer written all over it right there. Come on.
Except it's got a note of kale on the finish. So
give it that bitter taste.
Before we get to your segment, here, I started using the book you got me.
Oh, good.
I recorded a little something. I feel like I forget more movies than I watch, so I should probably use it. So, speaking of that.
Kevin's here. He's here for a beer. He's got news. It's beer with Kevin. Kevin.
Woo!
I was playing air drums in the
Kevman!
background.
Kevman! I'm going to see if I can get you to do a cover of that. Beer news is news. And actually, the beer news we have is not the worst. So you could say beer news is good news. We're going to start off with a story about a year of free beer on the line as a citywide treasure hunt begins in St. Paul, Minnesota. The hunt for the golden beer can will take place across public land across the city. The game is afoot. Can Wonderland and St. Paul Brewing have launched the Hunt for the Golden Beer Can, a treasure hunt through public lands around St. Paul. The prize for the city's best sleuth will be a private party worth $1,000 at the Arcade and Beer for a year from the brewery. The hunt kicks off on January 7th, so 2 days ago, when the first clue, crafted by official cluemaster David Allison, will be released at St. Paul Brewing 3 times each week at 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday, Thursday, that's tonight, and Sunday. A new clue will be released inside the brewery's phone booth. There's an image of this golden beer can, too. It's pretty cool. The clues will keep coming until the treasure, a golden beer can, is discovered. The final clue, if necessary, will be doled out on Sunday, January 26th. Proceeds from draft pours and crowlers of the brewery's Winter Carnival Winter Ale will go to the St. Paul Festival and Heritage Foundation to support the Winter Carnival, which starts on January 26th. The hunters on the prowl, organizers note that the can has been hidden on public land. It will not be found on private property nor anywhere near the grounds of the brewery. It will also not be hidden at Indian Mountain Park.
Bad about this.
Okay, well, hold on. It will not be hidden at Indian Mounds Park or Como Zoo Conservatory, it adds, nor will it be indoors up a tree, on top of the building, on a body of water or ice, or on a steep hillside, in something electrical, on a golf course, on a street, or in a sewer.
That narrows it down.
Essentially, it isn't somewhere dangerous. Don't go hurting yourself because it's an awkward conversation when you have to tell the doctor you fell out of a tree or slipped into the sewer because someone hit a beer can from you.
The golden beer can.
That's fun.
Again, once again, because I watch it too often, I immediately went the Family Guy route. When you said golden beer can, it made me think of an episode where Peter wins a tour of the Pawtucket Pat Beer Factory, and the owner comes out dressed like Willy Wonka and starts singing, "Take a drink, and you'll sink to a world of pure inebriation."
So my first thought was, if St. Paul is anything like any other city I've been to, some bum's gonna find it, try to drink it, then try to recycle it. No one's ever gonna find this fucking can again.
I just you gotta just look at the list of places it won't be and narrow it down. I think it gives you a nice radius to search through.
I like it. I think it's a clever way of the brewery to get attention, to get people to go into the brewery, to go into that phone booth, to find the clue, to get the clue. I mean, $1,000 isn't a lot if you're talking about how much beer you can consume. That's probably, I don't know, 3 months for me. But it's clever. It's fun.
And we can add it to the road trip. St. Paul
Brewery,
Minnesota. Yeah,
Minnesota.
I want to hear about this one. This one sounds fun.
Popular Japanese actor fired from low alcohol beer ad after getting drunk and breaking into the neighbor's home. Dun, dun, dun. And it's from CBS News, guys, so you know it's valid. A popular Japanese actor hired to be the wholesome face of the low alcohol beer has been fired after getting drunk and breaking into his neighbor's home, officials said. Drinks giant Asahi Breweries booked Ryo Oshizawa, who one fashion magazine said has national treasure class handsomeness. Oh, I like that classification. Leo, you got national treasure class handsomeness.
Just like Nick Cage.
Just like Nick Cage. I'm wearing my long legs today for a commercial for its 3.5% super dry crystal beer. But the 30-year-old, one of Japan's most popular actors, returned home on December 30th, perhaps having consumed something stronger. Yoshizawa was drunk and accidentally made his way into an apartment room next to his talent agency Amuse said in the statement Monday. I've lost my memories. I think I just went in without asking because I wanted to use the bathroom, Yoshizawa was quoted by local media as telling the police. We have decided to terminate our contract with Yoshizawa, Asahi Group Holdings spokesperson Shiori Shimizu told AFP Tuesday. As an alcohol beverage company, we consider his actions unacceptable.
But
Shimizu
did he get drunk off of beer or something else? If he got drunk off of beer, I can see it.
We will no longer be using him for our future advertisements. Yoshizawa apologized to his surprised neighbor for the major trouble he caused, Amuse said, adding that the actor already vacated the apartment. Yoshizawa has roughly 80 screen credits, according to IMDb. Last year, the actor starred as a young man with deaf parents in the drama Living in Two Worlds. The Japan Times reported his new movie, National Treasure, is set to open on June 6, 2025, according to his Instagram page. According to the Tokyo Reporter, Yoshizawa's agency issued a statement saying, in part, we would like to sincerely apologize to Yoshizawa's fans and related parties for the concern and inconveniences we have caused. Like other countries, drinking has been declining in Japan with low percentage in alcohol-free beverages and even abstaining growing in popularity, especially among younger people. So, don't get drunk and go into your neighbor's apartment. Though something like this did happen to me while I was on vacation. I had a motel room. I was out for the night. I came back and I went to bed only to be woken up to go out and see somebody crashed and was sleeping on the sofa that was in the common area of the room. And I went out and poked him, and he had come through the screen door, and I had to chase him out. This happened.
I was going to say you woke up to
Ocean City, Maryland, 2014, 2013, 2014. Anyway,
that was you that kicked me out of the house. I thought you were going to tell you woke up and found a stranger spooning you.
Or somebody waking you up going, you're in our bed.
At least they were kind enough to take the couch, you know.
I'm more curious about the next thing.
Are you? Because I'm looking at it, and it is rather lengthy. I really don't think I want to go through all this.
Can you at least just give me the date? Because if it's talking about today, the answer is 6 p.m.
Well, okay. When did humans start drinking alcohol? Evidence suggests that people were drinking beer as far back as 13,000 years ago, while distilled liquor arrived much, much later, which is impossible because we all know that the Earth is only 2,025 years old.
That's right.
You know?
What?
Essentially.
Israel 11,000 BC.
Yes, Israel beer in 11,000 BC. The earliest evidence of man-made alcohol in the world was discovered at a burial site in Rakafet Cave near the present-day Haifa. Haifa? I think I said that right. Israel. And the Tufians, a group of hunter-gatherers in the eastern Mediterranean, were laid to rest. Researchers from Stanford University analyzed the residue from a 13,000-year-old stone mortar found in the cave and recognized evidence of beer brewing. Yeah.
What
that
you guys say?
Cavemen
Cavemen can brew beer, but Kevin still hasn't.
Look, man, I don't have bottles, okay? They had at least clay containers of some
They didn't have bottles either.
They had clay containers. If I had some clay containers, I'd be brewing my beer. Then there's rice beer or sake, if you want, found in China about 7,000 BC. So
here, I got something for you. The
what you
oldest bottle of wine ever discovered was discovered in Speyer, Germany in 1867. The bottle itself is believed to date back to Roman times between 325 and 350 AD and still has wine in it that researchers believe is still likely safe to drink.
got? Who wants to give that one a go?
I don't know, but that's a well fermented wine. If that's
Can we do it live on the podcast?
yeah, let's do it live. Tonight we drink the oldest bottle of wine. Tomorrow we see if there's another episode. What's the last story you got there?
Okay. This one is local. It's a little closer to our hearts, at least to mine. Not that I went to Third State often, but I don't like seeing local, craft breweries having to close. But this was kind of coming for a bit. Third State Brewing in Burlington, acquired by Swedesboro Brewing family. Third State Brewing in Burlington, New Jersey, is joining the Swedesboro Brewing family. News of the sale of Third State was announced on their social media channels earlier today. We caught up with Swedesboro Brewing owner Marvin Bowe, who gave me all of the details on the purchase. Third State Brewing was founded almost 10 years ago by partners Jay, Bill, and John, who at the time had a combined 50 years of home brewing experience, which they utilized to open the Third State Brewery in the historic district of Burlington City. Over the years, Third State Brewing has gone on to win awards for its innovative beers and has become an integral part of the Burlington downtown community, participating in and sponsoring numerous events such as September's Hops and Rock Festival. Not only wanting to be a positive influence in Burlington, Jay Mahoney of Third State wanted to help his fellow New Jersey brewing community, as he was also a president in the New Jersey Brewers Association. The Third State announcement described the reasoning for the sale as "quote-unquote" retirement, for which was further confirmed by the new owner, Marvin Bowe. Marvin founded Swedesboro Brewing almost 4 years ago, and exactly 1 year ago, he acquired a Collingswood brewery space, which he reopened 5 months later as the Raccoon Tap Room. So if you had gone to Collingswood before, you would have known it as Devil's Creek. It was a small brewery underneath like an apartment complex, but Swedesboro acquired it and opened up the Raccoon Tap Room. Needless to say, Marvin is doing a lot of things right with 2 thriving breweries already and an employee operating model that is likely unmatched in the industry. Marvin's brewery employees are offered full health benefits and retirement plans. And now he's already moving into his 3rd full brewery location in less than 4 years.
It's in Swedesboro, he said.
Yes.
So it's not far from either of us.
No, Megan and I had gone there, I want to say a year ago or so, September of 2023. I had to go down to Christiana Mall in Delaware to acquire a purchase that was tax-free. And on our way back, we figured we would stop at the Swedesboro Brewery. And we had quite a few very tasty beverages, one of which is still sealed with a wax top in our fridge. Meg wanted to wait and try that as a caramelized beer. So it's still waiting. But look, I couldn't be happier that a good beer a good beer company is going into where Third State was. And I hadn't gone to Third State often. What I do kind of wish, though, are the other breweries which had to shut down for various reasons, like Flying Fish or Forgotten Boardwalk, could have taken the opportunity to go into that new location so that they can start brewing again. Swedesboro is fantastic, but they had multiple, locations already. I would have liked to have seen somebody who was pushed out get put back in.
Okay. So we're going to take a short break, play a little ad from Coffee Brothers, and when we come back, we're going to our main segment, which is the year 2024 in review. We'll be right back.
I love a good beer, but right now, I could use a good cup of coffee.
Have you heard about Coffee Brothers?
Oh, yeah. They're that coffee company out of New York, right?
Well, they're more like a coffee wizards of New York City. They source these amazing seasonal blends and single origin coffees. It's like a flavor adventure in every cup. And get this, they roast everything in small batches. None of that mass-produced stuff. It's like each bean gets the VIB treatment.
VIB?
Very important bean.
Sounds fancy, but is it worth it?
Definitely. Plus, they're a two-person team. I mean, that's dedication right there. Two brothers, one mission to caffeinate the world. And right now, you can save 10% on your order. I mean, who doesn't love a good discount?
All right, you've convinced me. Let's get some Coffee Brothers now.
Coffee Brothers, where every cup is a sip of perfection. Save 10% on your next order with the code FNF10. That's FNF10. Cheers to great coffee. So thank you for sticking with us after that short break. Hey guys, before we get to our main segment, I got a question for you. What's the difference between Iron Man and Aluminum Man?
Yeah, I saw that one.
Iron Man stops the bad guys. Aluminum Man just foils their plans.
You should see the one I sent you right before the podcast.
I'll take a look at it afterward.
It's the scene where Han Solo is talking about how, the Force in Star Wars on the Millennium Falcon, and Chewie's over there going, "What? Are you shitting me? I saw Yoda do a double backflip and cut this guy's head off. You're embarrassing."
So I figured since dad jokes had a real heavy hand in 2024, let's start off with one right there. So this is our year in review for 2024, all things movies. We're going to look at the biggest box office hits of the year. There are a couple surprises on that list. The biggest box office bombs of the year. Number one surprised me a little bit. I actually thought it was going to be a different film. And then we're going to do a little In Memoriam segment where we're going to talk about some of the actors and directors who have passed away this year. Not everybody. There is a very long list of Hollywood names, but we are sticking mainly to fairly well-known actors and directors and such. So let's start with the box office hits of the year. So what I did for this was I gave you guys links to sites that had the list of these movies, and then I went ahead and I looked up the Rotten Tomatoes score for these films, and what I thought was one of the funnier comments that people had written about these movies. So according to Collider.com, these are the 10 highest grossing movies of 2024. So this is within the calendar year. So it's not counting any movies. So the only movie that's really on here that's continuing into 2025 is Wicked, because that came out in November. So number 10 on the list, Venom, The Last Dance. I honestly thought this was a bomb. I didn't realize this actually made money at the box office.
Mm-hmm.
It made $475 million worldwide.
Wow.
Yeah.
Venom: The Last Dance. I have not seen it yet. I like the first film. The second film was I don't know. It's part of what I said in the intro, like the whole Sony Spiderman Villain universe minus Spider-Man.
We gotta keep the property. We gotta keep the rights.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like kind of hit or miss at this point.
They make them so that they can keep the rights before, Marvel just is like, we'll take it back.
Yeah, and I mean, like at this point, just let Marvel have it. You're not making any, aside from Venom, you're not making any money.
And you're doing a disservice to the fans,
Yeah, I agree. Venom received, this is good, Venom 3 received 41% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, which seems about right for the critics to be very low. The audience score, on the other hand, was 81%.
Wow.
A whole 40% higher. Which is actually kind of promising considering.
Yeah.
It's that Venom horse that comes around.
Yeah, He turns into a frog in the film too. There's a venom frog. Amy on Rotten Tomatoes said this movie was all right. Ending was super cheesy. Number 9 on the list is the only non-American film to make the box office list. It's a Chinese film, which explains why it made so much money because there's 8 billion people in China. This movie made $479.5 million. The film is called YOLO. It's a movie it's a sports dramedy about a stay-at-home loner who finds inspiration to restart her life when she meets a boxing coach. And it turns into a feel-good movie about this young woman finding a career as a boxer. It has a New Year's release in 2024 and was a smash hit in China. So again, it becomes the only movie on the list of this list that is not an English-speaking film. It received an 82% critic score and a 90% viewer score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
I might have to check it out. That's actually really good scores.
I'm not surprised by the critics. They love foreign films.
Well, they also I'm assuming too, because I didn't really go through it much, but I feel like the critics are probably Asian critics as well. It's like probably mostly that audience. But the user score was really high too, so that makes me think it's actually a pretty good film. You on Rotten Tomatoes says, I like this movie. It touched my heart deeply.
Nice.
There weren't very many negative reviews about it, so there wasn't anything I could really find. It was kind of funny, but
you go
YOLO. Number 8 on the list for box office hits this year, Kung Fu Panda 4.
Wow. I thought 3 took it off the cliff, but 4 brought it back, man.
$547.6 million.
My God.
It is among the highest grossing animated franchises of all time. This series of films has been going on for 15 years now.
And it's surprising because they weren't able to bring back Angelina Jolie,
for Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, man. I mean, they lost a lot. They had to fill in with Awkwafina and Viola Davis.
Is this true? Because I don't know if you're telling me the truth or not.
But I lie. I mean,
yeah.
Guys,
yes.
Today is wrong.
You sit on a throne of lies.
I don't know if Angeline made it back or not. I do see that they have Awkwafina as the second on the cast list.
After Jack Black, Awkwafina, Viola Davis, Dustin Hoffman,
Mm-hmm.
James Hong, Bryan Cranston, Ian McShane, and Ke Huy Quan. So on Rotten Tomatoes, it received, actually pretty high, 71% critic score, which is a high enough to be certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, and 85% audience score. It's pretty good.
It's because this one tied in all the plot holes or filled in all the plot holes
brought it all together.
Three movies, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It continued the lore.
They played the long game.
I did find one negative review on the on Rotten Tomatoes from Richard C., who said, "Leave a classic alone. I'm not going to see part 2." Yeah, I just left it out there. I want you guys to catch up to that one there. I'm not going to see part 2.
I caught it. I just what
is he assuming that Kung Fu Panda 4 is like Harry Potter is going to have a part 4, part 2?
This is the same guy that preferred Ants over A Bug's Life. So,
Well, you didn't like Woody Allen as an animated ant? Oh, God. The next one on the list, Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. Is that supposed to be Godzilla times Kong?
Yeah, I think it's Godzilla and Kong. So, yes.
And Kong.
Yeah. X,
$568.7 million. Let me tell you this one thing. If I had my choice between this and Godzilla -1, go watch Godzilla -1.
I did watch Godzilla -1. It was very good. I like that Kong gets himself a Nintendo Power Glove.
Power Glove, yeah.
Yes. he gets the gauntlet, the Infinity Gauntlet, and then is able to fight all the other Kongs.
Sorry, guys. I'm going to go back to the classics and watch the Godzilla movies where they got
the rubber suits.
He's going
Where
to
the guy in a rubber suits walking around on a little like model town. It says that in the article, it says that the appeal of this film had to be from the fact that they stepped away from the human characters and spend more focus on the monsters.
You see, I didn't mind the first Godzilla, the modern Godzilla, and I didn't mind the sequel, God of the Monsters or Monster of the whatever it was. And then when they broke off from that, I was just like, nope, I'm done.
So, what was that, Mike?
You didn't like Skull Island.
I wasn't a huge fan. It wasn't the worst. But,
no, it wasn't the worst. This film got a 54% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. Shocker. But a 90% audience score. The audience loved it, including Luis, who says to us on Rotten Tomatoes, Godzilla really is God's ultimate weapon. 5 stars.
Is that the guy from Boston?
Yeah, 5 stars.
5 stars.
2 monsters kick ass. 5 stars.
5 stars.
Jesus.
What was the one I saw him do earlier today? I think it was
McDonald's Happy Meals.
No, it was a movie one. I think it might have been like maybe Star Wars films or something like that. It's like guy kisses his sister. 5 stars. Next one on the list is Wicked. It's amazing that this film made the top 10 list when it came out November 22nd. But that's
it's amazing they shot this entire film and none of it was in Boston.
Wicked.
Wicked.
Well, they have been promoting this movie for like 10 years.
Yeah.
That film was wicked. That film was a wicked pisser.
It was wicked.
Wicked pisser. Yeah. That bitch defied gravity.
Ariana Grande, she's a wicked hardcore.
Very popular.
Jeff Goldblum was a wicked wizard.
Popular. She wants to be popular. Hey, how's your mother?
Say hi to your mother for me. Made $640.1 million in a month and a half. Still going, so it's going to be on this list again.
And I heard they're releasing a sing-along version because they were telling people in the theater, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be singing along with the movie. Shut up. We're going to have a sing-along version. It's coming out after the first release.
They also filmed, I think they filmed Barton so that it can lead so second not it's going to relatively quickly after this one. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't seen it yet. I want to see it, but I feel like I would rather wait till it came out on like Disney Plus or something like that. I don't know if I'm going to watch this in the theater. I know my niece saw it and she's obsessed with it and sings the songs all the time.
I think the people that are obsessed with it that'll be at the theater would piss me off enough. I don't want to go see it.
Yeah, like I don't want to deal with that. So it received an 88% critic score and a 95% audience score.
Wow.
I feel like that's because the people who went to see it are probably obsessed with it anyway.
And watched it like 10 times in the theater.
Yes. For this one, I got 2 reviews because I picked a positive one and a negative one. The positive one comes from Jimmy in Chicago, who says, loved it. Second time I've watched it. Can't wait to see it again. So this guy's already seen it twice in the theater. Now, it was also a divisive film. There were people out there who did not like it, like Bruce on Rotten Tomatoes, who says, long movie, still don't understand where it's going. Apparently, there's a part 2 coming out. I'm not sure I'm going to watch it.
Bruce.
Yeah, Bruce. Number 5 on the list is my favorite film of the year, Dune Part 2, which made $707.1 million. I thought this film was amazing.
It was amazing.
I thought the cinematography was gorgeous. I thought the actors were great. I loved what's his name as Fade. I can't think of the actor. Austin Butler as Fade. Like he was awesome. It was really, really good, and they did justice to the books by splitting it into 2 films, so they didn't really have to cut much out of it. It was really well done. I can't recommend it enough. Plus, I'm also a sci-fi fan anyway, so
Yeah.
this received a 92% critic score and a 95% audience score.
Wow,
like that is
Super
amazing.
fresh.
Yeah, super fresh. Tom on Rotten Tomatoes says this is a sci-fi epic of the highest order. Denis Villeneuve just keeps getting better with every film he makes. I agree with that statement. Amazing movie. I'm not going to make jokes about it. I like it too much. I have not seen the next one on the list, but I really want to see it because I love the first movie. Number 4 on the list this year is Moana 2, which made $896.6 million at the box office.
Wow, it's tough for a sequel to do better than the original, I think.
Yeah, and it did. It did way better than the original. Moana 2 sees our title hero traveling out into the deep blue sea once again, accompanied by a new group of companions in hopes of finding and communicating with other societies and tribes out there. She finds herself reuniting with the demigod Maui and having to face off against the vicious god of storms.
Well, you now have a High Chief of Samoa.
Oh yeah, The Rock is now the High Chief of Samoa. What's his name? Like Semialu or something like that. He has like a Samoan name now, right? That goes with it.
Yep.
We'll talk about Raw later, Mike. Raw was awesome.
Fucking awesome.
Moana 2 only received a 61% critic score, which I think is kind of low.
Critics don't like Disney
sequels. They also don't like Disney
and sequels, yeah. And it's an 86% audience score. There were some negative reviews on there, including this one from DC, who says, "Same jokes, less stakes. Guess it exclusively a kids movie. Of course, it's a kids movie, but at least the first one had a good story and original score. This one, well, probably should have went straight to Disney Plus."
Wow.
Now, I really want to see this movie, but I think at this point I might wait for it to come out on Disney Plus because it's probably going to be hitting it soon at this point.
But it's number what, 4 on the list?
This is number 4 on this list. Yeah,
it could have been that bad.
Well, I don't know. When you consider number 3 on the list is Despicable Me 4.
Everybody loves the fucking Minions.
That's what it is, man. It's the kids and the Minions. $969 million, almost $1 billion for this fucking movie. I didn't like the last one I saw, so I had no interest in this one.
Well, didn't they move away from Gru and just do Minion movies? Or
so there was 3 Despicable Me films, and then they did a movie that was just the Minions, and then they did a movie called like The Minions: Rise of Gru when he's a kid, and now this is Gru again as an adult, Despicable Me 4. So I mean, it's a whole franchise with spinoffs, which is why it got a 56% critic score. And an 87% audience score, but I think 86% of that 87% was my nephew going online and just hitting like a bunch of times. One reviewer, John Madden, no relation, says, "Boy, they're milking this shit to the ground."
Universal needs a paycheck.
As we hear the Minions laugh in the distance from Mike's soundboard. Banana. Number 2 on the list should not be a surprise. Deadpool and Wolverine with a worldwide box office of $1.338 billion. Number 2 on the list. The 3 of us saw this together in the theater. We all laughed our asses off. I did a mini pod review of it where I praised the film because I did think it was really good.
It was really good.
I'm hearing a lot of negative about it though out in the internet spheres now. I don't know why.
There was a woman who went up to the box office and wanted her money back because she didn't know it would be so violent and vile.
I was just disappointed.
And I had no idea it would be this way.
I was just disappointed they didn't have the Fleshlight popcorn buckets at the theater that I went to.
They ran out of them with Dune 2.
Yeah.
They also ran out of the air conditioning seats that actually worked in the theater we went to.
Yeah, right. That was a fucking hot theater. Jesus. Got a
Leather
78.
seats. Leather.
Yeah, leather seats. That was a 78% critic score and a 94% audience score. I mean, I feel like that makes sense. You know, pretty high critic score. Brandon S on Rotten Tomatoes says, "This is the second greatest movie I've ever seen." What he failed to mention after that was he's only seen 2 films.
Yes. This and the 10 Commandments.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Deadpool and Wolverine and Schindler's List. Number 1 at the box office is Inside Out 2.
Wow.
This was like a year for sequels, man. A lot of sequels.
Yeah.
$1.698 billion.
Don't get me wrong, it's a great movie. I don't think it was as touching as the first one.
I did not see it.
I've not seen it yet.
Now they put it on at the school I work at for the kids for just before winter break, and I mean I had watched it prior to that, but it's good, especially for kids who have to like they need a personification of their feelings. This works.
I had always said that about the first one. Like I think it's such a beautiful portrayal of like childhood depression.
Right. It's a good way of like putting your feelings into characters and watching it play out and having that action relate to how you're feeling, how to understand and how to cope with your feelings. So
well, they were probably trying to go for the same kids now that they're older as a teenagers.
Right. And the things were embarrassment, envy, anxiety, and I want to say boredom was the
boredom.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's obviously teenagers right there. 91% critic score, 95% audience score, so very, very highly rated. Although this has to be my favorite review on Rotten Tomatoes from Ash, who says anxiety-inducing and uncomfortable.
No.
I'm assuming it did its job.
I'm assuming Ash is a teenager who doesn't understand his feelings right now. That brings me to the list that I couldn't wait to get to. The box office bombs of the year. And there are 10 on this list as well. And man, the reviews for these are fucking gold. Number 10 on the list, Joker, Folie à Deux. It had a budget of $190 to $200 million, roughly. The box office was $206.4 million. So it barely made back the money that they spent on it, which nowadays is considered a bomb.
And I think Joaquin was like he was so hoping this would work out. It was made so different, and he is he branches out into I want to try something different that may or may not get traction. And I think this just fell on his face. He's like, "Oh, this is why I don't do sequels."
I think what happened was he goes, "The first one did so great. We're going to do a great one on the second one." And he went, "It's a fucking musical." Shit.
Yeah. So some of the problems with it is like you got Lady Gaga who is actually pretty good in it. She's one of the better parts of the film, but is not used enough. I feel like. And then a good chunk of and it's a long movie, man. And a good chunk of it is a court case where he's defending his crimes from the first film, and it plays out like a clip show. It's like when when a sitcom used to have like nothing to do one week, so they just replay all their favorite scenes from like past. It was like a fucking clip show in the middle of a 2.5 hour movie, and I'm like, this is no. And the musical numbers were awkward, and not like in a they can't sing kind of way, in a kind of what is this doing here kind of way. I don't even want to get into the ending. If you haven't seen it yet, I don't want to spoil it for you, but the ending is fucking bizarre.
You find out the Joker is really Batman.
It's something about finding out who the Joker is. 31% critic score, 32% audience score, so barely better by the audience. And this is the review that I pulled from this one. Silent S on Rotten Tomatoes says, "Worst film of the year for me." I'm angry that Fandango won't let me give it less than a half a star. Which brings us to the next one. Another superhero film. Another movie from the Spider-Man less Sony villain Spider-Man universe film.
Madam Web.
Madame Web. Which made 180 to $100 million budget, give or take, and only made 100.5 million at the box office. So it basically made $500,000 more than, or $5 million more than what they spent on it, or like $500,000 more what they spent on it.
I would hire Dakota Fanning just to do press junkets for any movie I put her in.
I would like her to just do press junkets for movies in general. Like, I don't even care if she's in the film. I just want to hear her opinion of the movies. Why'd you do this film? They paid me $9 million.
I didn't see this, but I also don't think they advertised a lot of it. I mean, it's just like they show it, they have it, showed who was in it, but there was no plot advertised.
They watched it, they tested it with audiences, and they said, "We have to put it out. We've already blown our budget, and we need to make something back." But they knew it was going to be shit.
Yeah.
Now the thing with the trailer too is the trailer shows it in a way that it doesn't appear in the films. Like the trailer, they make it seem like, oh, these 3 girls that she's taking care of become like the new Spidey characters, you know, because you see a lot of them in the costumes in the trailers for it,
right?
And then that turns into a 30-second dream sequence inside the film. You never see them in the costumes otherwise.
Oh, Jesus.
So it's like a jip there, and it's like there's a lot of like really bad ADR where like the characters are obviously recording their lines after production, but they're adding them in when the character's like turned away from the camera, so you don't see their mouths moving, but you hear them speaking. Like it's like really.
So it is another Spider-Man villain universe movie without Spider-Man.
That sucks. Yes.
I love the quote: "When you take on the responsibility, great power will come."
Yeah. Jesus. It's not as good as the one where she talks about this was back when my mother died in South America when she was studying spiders or whatever the fucking line is. It got 11% critic score Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
And a 55% audience score. I feel like there's a percentage of the audience who liked it as like some sort of like macabre, you know, masochistic venture. But this is the best review that I found for it. Garrison M on Rotten Tomatoes writes, "I'm only giving it 1 star, and that's for the 30 seconds I got to see Sydney Sweeney in a spider costume."
Well, now tell us what you really think.
Yeah. That brings us to number 8 on the list. Horizon: An American Saga, Chapter 1. This is the Kevin Costner vanity project that he left Yellowstone for. He is providing much of the budget himself, and it's supposed to be a trilogy. The first film is way over 2 hours long.
181 minutes.
It's a long movie.
Yeah.
He spent $50 million on it and made $38.2 million. So I don't know if the other 2 are coming out. I don't know if he filmed them and financed them already.
As your nephew Colin would say, wah, wah, wah.
It's I haven't seen it. I don't know if I want to see it because I just don't know if I could sit through it or not. It got a 51% critic score and a 70% audience score. It actually is a pretty decent audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. But Mark says this is a 3-hour disaster that was totally unworthy of Costner's talent. He's going to go broke giving this Valentine's to himself. Some of the people who wrote comments on Rotten Tomatoes, man, are very creative.
So you think he would have been better off redoing Waterworld then?
Yeah, probably.
Waterworld 2.
Waterworld's actually gotten a lot of love over the last, like, you know, couple decades, and like people are like, it's not as bad as I thought it was, you know. Now, if you watch it next to Horizon, it really isn't as bad as you thought. Speaking of bad, Kev, the next one on the list should hurt you a little bit. Number 7 on the list of box office bombs this year. The remake of The Crow, starring Bill Skarsgård.
Well, you did say it sucked, so.
By the way, I saw Nosferatu.
Yeah.
And he is incredible in that. And as incredible as he is in Nosferatu, he is less than incredible in The Crow. It had a $50 million.
What he had to work with.
Here's where it went downhill.
When they decided to make a remake.
It's a reimagining of the source material. You blew it because the source material made it great.
Yes. It had a $50 million budget, only made $24 million. So that was an honest to God loss right there. It massively underperformed, especially when compared to other modern reboots. Yeah, I would say so. You ready for this, Kev? 22% Rotten Tomatoes critic score, 63% audience score.
No.
I feel like it's probably an audience of people who never saw the original.
It's people who liked The Crow, City of Angels, and
and the third one that apparently came out straight to video.
Yeah.
Just for comparison's sakes, Kev, I brought up the Rotten Tomato score for the original Crow from 1994. 87% critic score, 90% audience score. Like that's about as close to perfect as you can get. Brian W. on Rotten Tomatoes says of the Crow reboot, mediocre remake with interesting visuals, but an illogical plot.
The original made no money in the box office, but got such a cult following.
A lot of it had to do with Brandon Lee's death on the set.
Yeah,
I think like that brought it a lot of negative attention, but people watched it and thought afterwards, well, it really was a great film. Number 6 on the list. I think a lot of the problem that this film had comes from the ungainly title, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Now, I saw this because I was really excited about this film because it is directed by Guy Ritchie, who I love. I love The Gentleman. I love Snatch. I love Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Like, I love Guy Ritchie films. So I was really excited to see this, and then I ended up disappointed after I watched it because it felt like, to me, it wasn't a Guy Ritchie film. It was a Guy Ritchie trying to be Quentin Tarantino film. It tried really hard to be like Inglourious Basterds, I felt like. And so I was a little disappointed. And, you know, it has Henry Cavill in it. It has Alan Richardson in it. It's like it's got a good cast. I just disappointed. 68% critic score, 92% audience score. So I feel like the Guy Ritchie faithfuls out there really like this film. And I didn't. I don't know. But I have a really, really good review for this one. You ready for this?
Go for it.
Catherine Mayo on Rotten Tomatoes writes, "Dislike nothing about this film. Unfortunately, I won't come back to your theater because your parking lot is like a city. I had my 91-year-old mom with me, and the whole thing was way too complicated. She said she'd never come back again either. The movie was excellent, though, but no good and plenty at the concession stand. A travesty."
He complained about the theater? Parking lot.
My impression from that review is that the person doesn't know how Rotten Tomatoes works and was trying to, like, complain to the theater that she saw it at. Oh, man. Everybody okay? We all still here with me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Next one on the list is one that Kevin was talking about earlier. Here.
Yes. Watched this maybe a week ago. Not even.
Number 5 on the list. Had a $45 to $50 million budget, give or take, and only made $13.4 million at the box office.
I don't think it was promoted well. I mean, the trailer that I saw intrigued me, which is why I wanted to see it, but I just don't think they promoted it as well as they should have. I
saw the trailer on YouTube, but I don't feel like I saw it advertised a lot elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you'll see things on.
I saw a lot on TV. I saw, you know.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing much, but it was like, you know, and it's a unique premise.
Commercial. I saw.
Yeah, it was the same. Yeah, it's the same trailer everywhere you see it. There wasn't like a lot of other explanation for it. I didn't see a lot of actors like going on talk shows to talk about it. So it was like just just weird in that sense.
I'll be interested to hear the reviews because
Tom Hanks is enough to sell things, is what they thought.
That is true.
Well, they thought you had Tom Hanks, you had Robin Wright, and you had Robert Zemeckis. So it's a Forrest Gump reunion.
Yeah.
Right.
Plus Zemeckis is also the guy behind Back to the Future, so he has that going for him. So I think that's what they were kind of planning on, but didn't really work out. It got a 38% critic score and a 59% audience score. So it's fairly low.
So I'll say this.
Go ahead.
The plot's nothing worth writing home about. The story is the shot. The story is the scene. The story is the setting. That's the story. There's nothing else.
It was like they're trying to like sell it on the gimmick a little bit.
Yeah.
So you agree then with Rex on Rotten Tomatoes, who writes, "Here is a soulless, meandering bore, proving that nostalgia and tech tricks can't save a story that has nowhere to go."
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It needed more. It needed a story.
Yeah. Now, you guys know I watch a lot of movies.
No.
Even I had no idea that this movie came out, number 4. I didn't hear of it. I knew nothing about it. I had to search out the trailer on YouTube because I didn't know anything about it. It's called Fly Me to the Moon.
I saw a couple trailers for it, but
I knew nothing about it. It's got a good cast. It stars Scarlett Johansson, Channing Tatum, Woody Harrelson, and Ray Romano. I'm like, that's not a bad cast. A musician and an astronaut form an unexpected romance as she prepares for a lunar mission. That's all. That's it.
About it, but not much.
Yeah,
I thought, and you see, this is where the misconception is. I thought, the conspiracy theory that the moon landing was fixed. It was recorded. My thought of what the movie is, and I haven't seen it, so this could be accurate or not, was that they had a studio ready to pull it off after the launch in case the launch was unsuccessful, in case it didn't happen, whatever
that's
happened.
the premise. That's the premise of the film. Like they have it ready to film in case the actual mission is unsuccessful.
Okay.
So the filming is the backup plan, not the actual, like, moon landing is not the actual film. It's the backup plan. It had a $100 million budget, only made $42.2 million. 65% critic score, 89% audience score. I mean, actually has a decent audience score.
Yeah.
Except when it comes to Marion on Rotten Tomatoes, who wrote the male actor is boring.
Oh, just Channing Tatum.
Yeah. I hear something in the background. Is that the child?
It is the child. He is not feeling very well. So,
poor little guy.
We're trying to help out when we can.
Next one on the list, number 3, the third biggest box office bomb of the year, video game adaptation Borderlands, starring Kate Blanchett, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, Ariana Greenblatt, and Jamie Lee Curtis. $120 million budget, only made $33 million. I did not see it. I don't really have an interest in it. I have a very loose knowledge of the game. I played a little bit of the first game that came out.
Right.
I don't know enough about the lore to really be interested in the film. It says here on the article, popular source material and star-studded cast, not enough to bring people to the theater.
I wonder if Kate Blanchett took it just because her kids said it was a very good game.
All I know is she's 56 years old, 57 years old, and the character she's playing is supposed to be 20. So, a little bit of a miscast there, I think. Borderlands received a 10% critic score and 50% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Eli writes, like a lot of people have asked, who is this movie for? It strays far from the game's lore while simultaneously sticking just enough in there to confuse people who've never played the games. So again, I ask, who is this movie for? I could say that about a lot of movies I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 2 on the list is Argyle. Another movie I was kind of excited to see because it's directed by Matthew Vaughn, who did the Kingsman films, which I really like. $200 million budget, though, only made $96.2 million. Stars Henry Cavill, Ariana DeBose, Sophia Boutella, Catherine O'Hara, Bryce Dallas Howard, John Cena, Dua Lipa, Samuel Jackson, Sam Rockwell, Bryan Cranston. I mean, it's a cast, man. But what I've heard about it, that it is a fairly confusing plot, with a really like hard to pull up serious twist at the end and all that. I don't know. All I know is that Uncle Ricky liked it, right, Kev?
I don't know if he saw it. Maybe he did.
You said I remember you telling me he saw it and he thought it was okay.
He might have. He might have. I'll have to ask him again.
Well, the critics didn't like it. They gave it a 33% critic score.
That tracks with my father's taste in movies.
Yeah, well, the audience gave it a 70%. So 7 of those votes were your dad.
Here.
Yeah, that the critics are a lot lower than the audience.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. No, about the movies. Especially when Henry Cavill's in them. Henry Cavill doesn't make good movies.
It's the DC albatross hanging around his neck.
He's a good actor, but he does.
Yeah, he's been in some bad films. Yeah. 70% audience score, so it's actually not bad for an audience.
Did John Cena? You thought it was good?
Yeah, I want to read this review for you from Rotten Tomatoes, and I want to know if you're as irritated by this review as I am. Now, I have not seen the film. I don't know how bad it is, but I don't feel like this is the kind of review you should ever leave anyway. Baron S. on Rotten Tomatoes writes, terrible movie, supposed to be funny, but it's a lame piece of shit. And Bryce Dallas Howard is so chubby, it hurts to look at her.
That's wrong.
Yeah, like, what's that got to do with anything?
Wrong.
Kev, your sound's off. I can't hear
you. Sorry. I said that's not right.
No.
It's got nothing to do with it. You're just a bitter little wench hiding behind a computer screen.
You sure it's not the same guy that was complaining about the theater?
Yeah, right. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm watching, as I'm reading this, I'm like, well, all right, yes, she gained a little weight over the years as she's gotten older. Yeah. She's still gorgeous. Like, what the fuck's your problem, dude?
Look, she gains weight, she loses. It's what people do.
Yeah,
it's
and I think it's supposed to like more. But I feel like it's supposed to be something to do with like her character in the film too. Is like she's a writer, she's not a action star. She's just like a homebody kind of person. So to me, it kind of makes sense. I don't. Either way, I'm like, you don't attack a person's looks just because you don't like the film.
She's got more talent than all three of us combined.
She can outrun a T-Rex in high heels.
Exactly.
Then turn around and direct a Star Wars episode for
the Mandalorian. Yeah,
and she did a couple of the Skeleton Crew too.
Yeah, she did a couple of Skeleton Crew episodes too. Yeah, she's a very good director.
Mm-hmm.
The number 1 box office bomb of the year. Oh my God, this is ridiculous. Megalopolis, written and directed by Francis Ford Coppola, starring Adam Driver, Forrest Whitaker, John Voight, etc., had a $120 to around $136 million budget. The entire budget was provided by Francis Ford Coppola himself because he has been trying to make this movie for about 30 years now. It's like his vanity project. Mm-hmm. And he decided, this is probably the last movie I'm going to make. I'm old now. I'm probably not going to make any more movies. I'm putting all my money into this film. It made $13.9 million at the box office.
Did it get promoted anyway? Anybody?
It had some promotion. I saw a lot of ads for it, especially online. I remember thinking when I first read about it, I'm like, all right, I like Adam Driver. I like Francis Ford Coppola. This has potential. I remember the first time I saw the first trailer for it, I was like, well, it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure what's going on here. But then I started reading some of the reviews, man, and it's like it sounds like it's a mess. This movie sounds like a mess. I don't even know how to describe it. Anyway, this is the only movie of the 20 films that we talked about tonight where the audience score is lower than the critic score.
Wow.
The critics gave this a 45%. The audience gave it a 35%. And I feel like that's because it's Francis Ford Coppola. There's definitely some critics out there who had to give it a positive review because this is the man that directed The Godfather.
Yep.
And as far as this being the biggest box office bomb of the year, it also has the best review of any movie on Rotten Tomatoes right now. Joe on Rotten Tomatoes writes, if you take 6 shots of Jaeger and go in to watch this movie right afterwards, you'll have a fantastic time, just like I did.
Oh,
Joe.
So you're trying to say this movie could go onto our episodes of You Must Be Drunk to Watch movie?
Yes, this is a You Must Be Drunk to Watch it. I want to watch it. It's another like 2.5 hour movie, and I don't know if I want to torture myself for that, but I have discovered that I can watch some movies like at 2 times the speed and still make out what I'm watching. So that brings us to the last part of our main segment tonight, which is the In Memoriam. For this section, we're going to talk about celebrities who passed away this year. We're not looking at the full list of people who passed away. It's a long list according to IMDb. We're looking at mainly actors who are, who have some recognizable names. We're going to talk about some films they were in. Yeah, more or less. And then we have 2 director, writers, producers at the end here that I felt like need to be mentioned. So the first one on the list is Olivia Hussey, who actually just came in under the wire on this. She passed away on December 27th. She's been in films like Black Christmas. She was in Romeo and Juliet. She did a lot of voice work later in her career. She was the voice of Talia al Ghul on Batman Beyond. She did the voice of a couple characters in the Star Wars Old Republic video game. But the movie that I know her for the best, and I think most people would know her for, is her very first film credit, which is 1968's Romeo and Juliet. She is a beautiful woman, beautiful actress, and she looked like she had the potential to go far. When you see what she looked like in Romeo and Juliet, here she is, beautiful young lady. I think she was 17 when she did this movie.
She was underage, and
I remember there was like some controversy because she does have like a nude scene in it. I think.
She was 15.
15. Wow.
When the movie came out, and her and the actor who portrayed Romeo, who I think was 17. And there was nudity.
I mean, this was Zeffirelli. It was filmed in Italy. They don't care.
Italians.
The next one on the list of people who passed away this year is James Earl Jones, which we, of course, did a whole episode dedicated to him. So if you get a chance, you should go back and listen to that episode because we talked about his whole filmography on it. Now, for me, of course, when you think of James Earl Jones, most people probably immediately think of Darth Vader.
Sandlot.
I also think of The Sandlot. I think of Mufasa in The Lion King. And I also think mainly when I think of James Earl Jones, I think of Field of Dreams.
Okay.
You don't think of Coming to America?
I like him in Coming to America, but it's not as big a part as like Field of Dreams. He's one of the main characters.
Sneakers
is another good cameo role. I think of him in Soul Man.
Hunt for Red October.
I mean, you can go through it all. Like again, go back and listen to our tribute episode to James Earl Jones. We talk about all the films on his list, The Great White Hope and Fences and all that. It was one of our better episodes. Next one on the list is Shelley Duvall. I know she's had an extensive career, but I could only, off the top of my head, think of 2 movies that she was in, and that was Popeye and The Shining.
Yes.
She was in Roxanne.
Here she is, Shelley Duvall.
Mm-hmm.
That
she
is
was
before...
in the Steve Martin Roxanne. Yeah.
Again, I'm talking about like the films that immediately come to mind for me when I hear her name, and those are the 2 that come to mind for me. because she plays Olive Oil in Popeye. And in the picture I have on the screen here, this is before Stanley Kubrick tortured her into insanity on the set of Shining. And if there's anything else you guys want to add in before I go through the names, I know I'm kind of like flying through this. I don't want to go through it too fast.
I remember her Storybook Tales.
That's right. Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, Storybook Tales. Yeah.
But okay, I've said my piece.
Next one that passed away this year is a horror film icon, Tony Todd. Probably best known for his role in Candyman. Here he is in the Candyman right there with that hook hand. But he was also in one of Kevin's favorite movies, The Crow, the original one, the good one. The one with the 90% Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yeah, Ron Grange, Grange. He was the right-hand man of Top Dollar. So
right hand, he has a hook.
Not in that movie. In that movie, he had two hands.
Yes.
He had a flare gun and he had a rocket launcher.
And I also put on the list the movie I had talked about when he first passed away was The Man from Earth, which is a TV movie where he meets a guy that's immortal.
Yeah.
Tony Todd, good. He's a very reliable character actor. He's like one of those guys. If you see him in a film, you're like, oh, I know that guy. You might not know his name, but you know who he is. Next man on the list is a acting icon. He is an Academy Award winner. He won the Academy Award for An Officer and a Gentleman. He was in the Iron Eagle films. He was in the original Punisher film with Dolph Lundgren. And he is in one of my favorite films of all time. It was one of the films I did on one of our Films That Time Forgot episodes. I did this movie, Digstown, where he plays an old boxer. That is Louis Gossett Jr.
I thought it was Jaws 3D.
Look at that handsome debonair man.
Leo?
Yeah.
Enemy Mine.
Enemy Mine's another good one.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't know it's him in that, though, because of all the heavy makeup he's wearing in it. But yeah, Enemy Mine's a great film. Is that the one that you think of when you think of Louis Gossett Jr.?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's not one I would balk at. That's a good one. But for me, it's Digstown because I love that movie. So
he was like the quintessential background character of the 80s.
Yeah, he was always the
teacher.
All right, Craig, the CEO. I'm gonna step out. You guys are
like
already. No. You guys continue. I'm good with the next two or three. You just continue.
It was he's sort of like the moral compass in a lot of the films that he's in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, was it Tin Soldiers?
Ooh, Toy Soldiers. Oh yeah, he's the principal in that one. That's a great one. Yeah. Yeah. Next one on the list I have here is Shannon Doherty. She is probably best known for her role as Brenda on 90210, or the TV show Charmed that she did with Alyssa Milano. But she was also in the film Heathers, and the one that comes to my mind when I hear her name, Mallrats.
Yeah.
Here's a still of her in Mallrats. Looking good right there. Playing I don't remember the character's name. Jason Lee's the actor playing his girlfriend in the film. He always wanted to have sex in an uncomfortable place, like the back of a Volvo. I love Mallrats. It's not one of Kevin Smith's best, but I really enjoy the film. But yeah, she was kind of like a shock when I found out she passed away because she was pretty young.
Yeah.
Not as young, but still shocking. She passed away this year. Maggie Smith. Maggie Smith's one of those actresses who I feel was like old her whole life.
Yeah, but I only go back and they showed clips of her.
Oh yeah,
she was really young, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, here the picture I have of her is like her through the years.
Yeah.
So there's like her in her early career in like the 60s, and this picture down here. This is in the 90s when she was in Sister Act. This is in the 2000s when she was in Harry Potter, and this is like the most recent photo of her when she was doing the Downton Abbey series. I think most people probably know Maggie Smith from Harry Potter, I would think, at this point. as Professor McGonagall. But when I think of Maggie Smith, like really the movie that comes to my mind is Sister Act. I feel like that's the earliest film I remember seeing her in.
Got one earlier for you.
What's
the
that?
original Clash of the Titans.
That's right. Did she play Hera?
Yes.
Yeah, she's Hera in the Clash of the Titans. That's right.
Right.
Yes, we are on Maggie Smith, Kev.
Got it.
You missed Shannon Doherty. We talked about Mallrats a little bit.
With her extensive library.
Yes, with her extensive library. And here's the picture in case you want to see it. Mallrats.
Oh, that's a good one. That's Mallrats, isn't it?
Mallrats, yes.
Nice.
But Maggie Smith, I said, I think most people probably know her from Harry Potter. I said the first film that comes to mind when I think of her is Sister Act.
Oh, I think of Downton Abbey.
Yeah, I mean that's her most recent
thing. Sassy broad.
When she like the dowager or something or another, like she had like some.
She was a mother in the Lord of the Manor.
Mike had a good one though. Mike had a good one for her though. She was Hera in the original Clash of the Titans.
Oh, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Next one on the list, another acting legend, Donald Sutherland. What picture do I have of him here? Where is it? I have a picture of him somewhere. If anybody wants to talk about him, I'm trying to find my picture.
Well, when you say Donald Sutherland, I think of The Dirty Dozen.
That's the first movie I go to is Dirty Dozen.
I go to MASH.
Here he is. Here we go. Yeah, because there he is in MASH.
Yep. And that's not. Is it Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
That's that third picture I have here.
Okay.
So the picture I have up, if you're listening to us, of Donald Sutherland, I have him in 3 of his roles here. The first one is him as President Snow in the Hunger Games. The second picture is him as Hawkeye Pierce in MASH. And the last picture is him in Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1978. That's that one that's got that iconic scene at the end where he's pointing at the camera and screaming because he's one of the people that's been possessed by the aliens. But there's so many. He was in JFK. He had a cameo role in that as Mr. X. He was really good in that. I'm trying to think. I abbreviated something here. I don't know what the hell it is now that I abbreviated.
He was in Backdraft. Very small role in Backdraft, but he was in Backdraft. He was in Disclosure. I'm really thinking of the B and C movies that he's been in.
I mean, he's done so many movies.
Yeah.
It's easy to kind of like miss some of them.
Here's a question for you two then.
Mm-hmm.
Who's better, Donald or Kiefer?
Donald.
Oh, God. Donald probably. I think Donald has a more extensive career and more varied roles.
Donald was given more opportunities, more varied roles. Kiefer's always been put into either bad boy or
like
soldier.
I would say like bad boy or like awkward hero kind of character in a way. Like
I've never seen him in a comedy, and he's
bad
boy, Flatliners, bad boy, Lost Boys, bad boy, Stand By Me.
And then he's kind of been in a series of TV series, lately, and every series he's been in has kind of felt like a pale ripoff of 24, which was his most successful series.
Yeah.
I would think. I think Donald's the better actor.
He also had him in Young Guns.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Here he is playing an awkward hero character. I think Donald Sutherland is the better actor. I think he's played a wider variety of characters. But yeah, like the first one I think of is Dirty Dozen. That's immediately where I go to. Next one on the list of people who passed away this year is Carl Weathers. Probably best known for playing Apollo Creed in the Rocky series.
Yep.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, he was also in Action Jackson. One of the first African American actors to star in his own action film. He was in Predator, of course, and Happy Gilmore, which I'm sure Mike saw because it's an Adam Sandler film.
I actually did see that one.
Plays Chubbs. He gets his hand bitten off by an alligator.
Yep.
Here's a picture of Carl Weathers. This is him as Apollo Creed and Rocky. That man was like just as chiseled as like Arnold was.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like they tell stories about like the behind the scenes on Predator Like all the guys were like constantly pumping iron in between takes because they were all trying to look bigger than each other on film. I do that too. That's why I'm always in such great shape.
Yeah.
Always pumping iron between the scenes. The first film I think of when I think of Carl Weathers, though, I think most people would probably go Apollo Creed, but I immediately go to Predator. Because I've probably seen Predator more than I've seen Rocky. Next one on the list is Terry Garr.
Roll.
And I was going to say, between the three of us, I think the first movie all of us go to when we think of Terry Garr is Young Frankenstein. But she was in Tootsie. She was in Mr. Mom.
Yep.
She was in Close Encounters of a Third Kind.
Yep.
She was on an episode of the original Star Trek. In the original series. I don't remember. I don't know the name of the episodes like you do, Mike, but she was on the original series.
Yeah.
And she was in a weird movie that I saw. Of course, I saw it, called Mom and Dad Save the Earth.
Oh, I saw that one.
I only saw it because it came out in the 90s when I had my crush on Kathy Ireland, and Kathy Ireland is in the film in which she's in a bikini for about 99% of it.
That also have Ritter, Jonathan Ritter. Mom and Dad Save the Earth.
You are thinking of Stay Tuned.
Stay Tuned. That's
where
they don't change that dial or something.
Yeah, he gets sucked into the television. Yeah.
No, John Lovitz is the one that's with her in.
Yeah, John Lovitz is he's the king of the aliens, and he's in love with Terry Garr. Yeah.
Yes.
I have a picture of Terry Garr here. If you don't know what she looks like, there's Terry Garr in Young Frankenstein, the movie that the three of us probably always go to first when we think of her. Put the candle back.
She was in one of the time travel episodes where they go back to Earth.
Yes. Yeah.
She's like the secretary for the mystery spy guy. Yeah.
Yes. Next one on the list, Chris Christopherson. Most people might know him as a musician or from the film A Star Is Born with Barbara Streisand. I know him from Blade. Like that's my Chris Christopherson is Blade.
He was a musician in Blade.
He wasn't a musician in Blade. He was a whistler.
As a musician and in Blade.
Yes, and in Blade. I don't think I have a picture. I don't have a picture of Chris Christopherson, so we'll skip that one.
What?
Next one is Dabney Coleman, one of Kev's favorite 80s actors.
He was the quintessential 80s actor. He was, there you go, 9 to 5, Cloak and Dagger.
War Games.
You've Got Mail.
He was in You Got Mail. He's in Dragnet. He was in Hot to Trot with Bobcat Goldthwait.
You can forget Hot to Trot.
Hot to Trot with the talking horse. Now, like I don't know what. So, what do you think of, Kev, when you hear Dabney Coleman's name? What movie do you go to first?
I think either War Games or 9 to 5. I think are the two that come to my head first.
I think War Games is the one that comes to my head first.
Mm-hmm.
But you,
Cloak and Dagger, he played
Cloak and Dagger, and War Games would be the two.
Yeah, definitely War Games for me. Next one on the list is Martin Mull. May not know his name, but I'm sure you know his face. There he is.
Colonel Mustard.
Colonel Mustard. He was Colonel Mustard in Clue. He was in Mr. Mom as well. He was in Jingle All the Way. He was in Mrs. Doubtfire, which I didn't realize at first. Like I saw that on IMDb and I had to like look it up to find out. He played
Robin Williams' wife. Why can't I think of her name right now?
Sally Field.
Yeah, Gidget, Sally Field's boss, right?
Yes, he's the boss at the ad company she works for. He's got I think he's in like 2 scenes. But so like I had to go back and look it up because I didn't even know that. He was also on the TV series Roseanne as a recurring character for a long time. But of course, and he was a stand-up comedian as well. But honestly, Martin Mull, the only name that comes to mind when I think of Martin Mull is Colonel Mustard.
It's Colonel Mustard.
I mean, it's Colonel Mustard. Bob Newhart. He was on the Bob Newhart Show, the Newhart Show. Bob Newhart.
Elf.
He was in Elf as Papa Elf. He was in The Rescuers, and he won his only Emmy in a 60-year career for his guest appearance on The Big Bang Theory.
Dr. Proton or something.
Dr. Proton or something like that. I was fascinated to find out that was his only Emmy. This man who had been in TV for 60 fucking years.
He did a guest on NCIS.
Professor Proton, that was the guy's name.
Professor Proton, that's it.
Was that what before or after he was the Jedi Ghost?
So he won for, I think, his first appearance on the show. And then he became like a recurring character on like a few episodes. So he was great on that show. And Bob knew he was also a stand-up comedian when he started.
And his stuff was funny. I actually owned a couple of his cassette tapes.
Mm-hmm.
Where he would do his routines of talking on the phone. You
need to explain to our audience what a cassette tape is.
Yeah.
Look it
up. I mentioned VHS tape earlier.
Go to your card catalog. Look it up.
Yeah. Last actor I have on this.
I had something.
What are you going to say? Go ahead.
Bob Newhart. The end of the Newhart show. Do you remember the season finale?
Yeah, or the series finale was when he wakes up. He wakes up in bed with his wife from the original show, and you find out that the second was all a dream.
The whole second show was just a dream. It's great.
Do you still watch What We Do in the Shadows series?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the series finale?
No.
All right,
the series behind.
Without like spoiling anything for you, the season finale is really, really good. But there's a dream sequence where Guillermo wakes up in bed with Nandor, and it's that last scene from Bob Newhart. Really funny. The last actor I have on this list, you might not know his name, but you probably know his face. His name is John Ashton. This is him here.
Taggart.
Yes, he was in Beverly Hills Cop, Some Kind of Wonderful, and the movie that I think of when I hear his name, Midnight Run.
He was the one that wasn't Judge Reinhold.
Yes, he was Judge Reinhold's partner. Yes.
Taggart.
He was Dorfler in Midnight Run. He was the bounty hunter that was chasing after Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin in the film. He's one of those like seasoned like character actors that you could like always trust.
Yep.
The last two names I have on this list are producers and directors. I'm going to skip to the last one here, Norman Lear. Norman Lear is a TV producer who is probably best known for being the man behind All in the Family, Sanford and Son, Facts of Life, Maude, The Jeffersons, Good Times. I mean, this guy had a hand in some of like the greatest sitcoms of all time. He passed away this year. He was 96, I want to say. He was pretty old, and still working as a producer up until the time he died. And then the last name I have on this list, I saved it for last because of his connection to a friend of the show and a former and future guest, Cthulhu Jack, who started his career as working with people in Roger Corman's crew. Roger Corman, director and writer, passed away this year. Roger Corman, we made a joke earlier about learning trees. Roger Corman is a learning tree. He influenced so many writers and directors in Hollywood. Like it goes beyond his career as just a filmmaker. His first movie was in 1959. At 97 years old, he had officially produced 498 movies.
Wow.
And had directed 56 of them over the past half century. Not only that, he is responsible for giving us these directors: James Cameron, Ron Howard, Francis Ford Coppola, Penelope Spheris, Peter Bogdanovich, Martin Scorsese, Joe Dante, and Jonathan Demme all worked with Roger Corman at some point. Like, that's a learning tree right there.
Yeah.
But what has he done lately?
Produced 498 movies in 97 years.
I like guys who produce over 500 movies.
These, the following actors I'm about to name too, all had their early starts in Corman films: Jack Nicholson, Peter Fonda, Bruce Stern, Diane Ladd, Robert De Niro, Sandy Bullock, and Charles Bronson. All got their breaks in Roger Corman produced films. So he is, beyond just being a writer and director, a major influence in the history of Hollywood. And he is, we may not have some of the people whose names we know so well if it wasn't for Roger Corman. And I wanted to save him for last because of his influence and because of his connection to our good friend Cthulhu Jack. So that brings us close to the end now in this rather long season premiere episode that we have here. So, Mike, do you have any beer trivia or history for us this evening?
I do. Gauche is the only beer style flavored with salt. It is a wheat beer from Goslar, Germany, and usually also has a lemony tartness from the fermentation and the coriander seeds for added flavor. The best ones are not overly salty with a balanced savory finish. The Gauches are salty. They're supposed to be.
And named after us, fermentation. We have a cinema quote of the week. As always, I try to encourage Kevin to try to do an impression. So I think you could do a John Wayne for us.
Let's see.
Yeah.
I don't go around shooting my mouth off to I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. I don't go around shooting my mouth off about the problems of acting. In fact, I don't even call myself an actor. I'm a reactor. John Wayne. Wah-ha.
That sounds like the quote of a man who died with 50 pounds of beef in his belly. What do we have to say about our drinks this evening?
Very good.
I was, as I said, I was doing the Sam Adams Oktoberfest, and when I finished the first one, I cracked open a Sam Adams Oktoberfest. So I had two really good Sam Adams tonight. Mike, how was yours? You said it was really good.
Yeah, really good. Didn't have as much as that spruce piney taste you would think it would have as it did, but it was very nice.
I enjoyed my Pastryarchy Candy Cane Imperial Stout. It was very good. However, and you guys know this is pretty much the rule. The higher the ABV, the more flavor it has. The Mud Hen Hero Boy was awesome. I mean, I'm going to say it's as good as a Mad Elf. Yeah, it's really good.
Good. Awesome.
I really liked it.
I'll have to give it a try then, because it's in that pack you gave me, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. I'll have to give that a try. So, everybody, thank you again for joining us tonight for episode 178, our season 10 premiere, the year 2024 in review. It's also the first episode, brand new episode, I should say, where we are officially part of the Podnation TV network on Roku. So we hope you enjoyed listening to the podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Remember, you can shoot us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. You can watch us on YouTube, but now, if you have Roku, you can also watch us on the Podnation TV network. Remember, again, we are an independent podcast, which means we are listener supported. So we would love if you'd consider joining our Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Go to patreon.com/filmsandfermentation. You can also send us a text directly at 904-867-4466. Don't forget to stop by the crossroads between Pickle and Fermented next time around for episode 179. Normally, for our season premieres, we do our Films That Time Forgot series. We didn't do it this time around because we wanted to do the 2024 review. So our second episode of season 10 is going to be Films That Time Forgot. This will be part 10 in the series. Yeah, since this is our 10th season. So
10 years!
10 years. Yeah, I wish it was 10 years we were doing. Episode 179, Films That Time Forgot, part 10. That'll be our next episode. So thank you again for joining us tonight for the season premiere. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
This has been the Films and Fermentation Podcast, officially part of the Podnation TV network on Roku.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yes.
Where's it? Come on. Here it is.
Films and fermentation, movies and inebriation with films and fermentation.